No, not intervention. Fucking God damn it, what's the phrase I'm thinking of? I'll think of it. Not right now. Give me time. I'll yell it out in the middle of the podcast at some point.
Welcome to another edition of the Gentleman Fantasy Podcast. I'm Kyle, your host. With me, as he is every week that his parlay goes up in flames on Thursday night, Robert Rushlow.
Of all things, you can't talk about that. You only had 3 legs on yours and 2 of them missed. As far as like win percentage goes, I'm doing better here.
Yeah, listen, that we'll go over that later, but it didn't bode well for either of us, really. There were a couple of games that had no business being what the point spread was. Let's just put it that way.
Prophecy? Is that what I was thinking of?
I have no idea what you were talking about. Prophecy might be a good word for that. So let's start off here. We have some injuries.
Bring out Jaded!
Jordan Love got hurt again. Pulled his groin. Looks like he might play against the Lions. Rob, how do you feel about that?
I have mixed feelings. We have a backup quarterback who has as many wins this year as Jordan Love does. So I guess maybe it's good that we just keep the other team's defenses guessing on who they're going to get.
I will say that I'm very impressed with LaFleur and the Packers coaching staff for being able to seamlessly transition between two quarterbacks who play a starkly different type of football and still continue to play up to expectations, especially after Willis came in for 4 plays at the end of the game, week 1, and it looked like, he was a middle school quarterback.
Yeah, it's LaFleur should get a lot, like you said, a lot of credit for the transitioning between those quarterbacks and the way they can figure it out on the fly and just make plays that aren't necessarily fail-proof, but are designed to play to the strengths of those two. It's really good. Also, Malik Willis has a fucking frozen rope laser beam of a pass. Freaking Dobbs couldn't even catch that one. It was moving so fast. That dude can throw a fucking ball.
Yeah, the Packers coaching staff, especially in that first game that Willis started, they figured out a way to just craft a playbook that fits his style very well. And, for a guy who was basically left for dead in Tennessee, after a couple of games, he looks pretty decent. I have to say, again, it goes to show you put a young quarterback in a terrible situation, and then it just doesn't work for him. And think about all the quarterbacks that failed over the years, and you just think that they're garbage. I mean, you put them in the right situation, who knows? Maybe a lot of these guys could have succeeded.
Imagine what LaFleur could have done with the likes of Josh Rosen.
I don't know if there's any saving him. Other injuries this week, Stephon Diggs got hurt. Just a week after he said that, he never takes the high road, he blew out his knee. Christian Kirk is also hurt. I don't know if we care about that. Do we care about any Jaguars at this point?
I mean, no. I gave up completely on ETN. That was a huge bust, and I'm just willing to concede that was a miss. Won't start him.
Yeah, and I mean, if you had Brian Thomas, or you drafted Brian Thomas, I think Steve has him. He was like, what, the number 5 overall wide receiver as a rookie? And
he's currently number 3, isn't he?
Is that what he is? Yeah, and Jacksonville, mind you, the Jacksonville offense has been terrible. So for him to be putting up those kind of numbers fantasy-wise with just an absolutely horrendous offense goes to show that Brian Thomas is the real deal.
Yes, they should send him to a team that he can actually thrive on.
Speaking of sending guys to teams that they can thrive on, Deontay Johnson got traded to the Ravens for a swap, and this is kind of interesting here, a swap of 5th and 6th round picks. Now, it looks like the Ravens are going to be at the end of the 5th round, and the Panthers are going to be at the beginning of the 6th round. So they basically traded Deontay Johnson to move up like 5 picks. That really isn't much of a trade. Apparently, he's a cancer and no one likes him.
I can see that. He's been moved around a couple times now, but I mean, he's certainly talented, and it is interesting to see what they can do to use him. I mean, the Rick and I were talking about this over some beers. The Ravens actually need a guy like him who can be a kind of a possession receiver. You know, they already have the speedsters, the guys that can go deep, but it's nice to have that guy that can get open under the middle and sort of make those plays where Mark Andrews would normally do it. He's been kind of fading, so it's an interesting move for the Ravens. Could be a huge advantage.
I thought it was an interesting move too, because I actually thought Flowers and Bateman were pretty good this year. So the fact that they felt they needed to add someone to that wide receiver room to solidify things, even though the Ravens offense has really been firing on all cylinders for the last few weeks, is kind of a scary proposition going forward.
I mean, consider though that they lost that opener to the Chiefs. Maybe they're looking at the fact that they're kind of on a timetable with, you know, some of their players. Maybe they got to win now, and they're thinking to themselves, what can we add, even if it's in a place we're already strong, to really put us over the top and win those closer games, you know, where we could have used those kind of guys. So that's where I think it's I mean, obviously they didn't give up a lot here, as you just outlined. So I think any shot they can take at getting even a little bit better is worth it in the AFC, where it's super competitive. The playoffs are going to be a gauntlet.
Speaking of getting better in the AFC, the Colts have now transitioned from Anthony Richardson to Joe Flacco.
Let's go.
Now, just so we all remember, Joe Flacco took over the Browns last year and led them to the playoffs. Could he do the same thing with the Colts this year? Now, Richardson has been like the worst passer I have seen in the NFL in a while. Like, he cannot complete a pass.
I mean, sometimes, you know, people in baseball, they don't keep their eye on the ball and they swing and they miss. I think he just might close his eyes as sort of like a twitch before he throws, and then he just loses track of the receiver.
I don't know what's going on between him and Will Levis. I don't know who's a worse quarterback at this point. Apparently, he took himself out of the game this last week because he was tired. That did not win any brownie points with the linemen. And the coach, is it Shane Steichen? I think it is.
Did he go to the blue tent and take a nap, or like?
I don't know. He said he was tired, and which always blows my mind. So I don't know if you remember years like 2007, 2008, somewhere in that range, when Favre was playing with the Packers, and they were making this big deal because Favre was leading all these like last minute drives and had a couple comeback wins, and it was like this big deal. And they kept showing, you know, like, oh, Brett Favre is so exhausted. And then you go to a game and you realize that the amount of time in between plays and the like 12-minute TV timeouts in between timeouts at the end of these games, like, how can a A1 prime athlete be so incredibly winded when you at the end of a game, when the timeouts are being taken, you literally play like 3 plays every 10 minutes? I don't understand how you can be that winded. Rob, what is your take on that?
My take is, I guarantee the starting corner on that team was like, bitch, I was on the field for 3/4 of this game chasing wide receivers down, and you're tired? Get your ass back up there. I bet he was pissed. There's a middle linebacker that was like, you're tired? You can't even keep us off the field for more than 3 downs. Get the fuck back in there.
They rotate running backs and receivers for a reason, because sometimes the receivers are running 50, 60 yards sprint as fast as they can multiple plays in a row. Not that Anthony Richardson doesn't have, you know, a lot on his back and it's mentally taxing and, you know, he's got to evade players and whatnot, but I don't see how that can be. And yeah, so he lost the team. Flacco's in charge now. Flacco is backo. Let's do this.
I love it. I think that if Flacco takes the Colts to the playoffs, he's got to be in the Hall of Fame, right? I mean, he won a Super Bowl, obviously, but I mean, this really solidifies.
Yeah, and he tried. Right? He won a Super Bowl with the Ravens. He tried to take the Browns to the Super Bowl in 2023, and now he can take the Ravens not even the arch nemesis, the team that spawned the Ravens. No, I'm sorry. Never mind. There's so much Baltimore-Cleveland shit going on here. Cleveland became the Ravens, and Baltimore was in Cleveland, or the Indy team was in Baltimore. It's just, Why? How did Flacco end up on all three of these teams?
He's a vagabond like that. He just likes to travel, you know? He's a wanderer.
And that is true. He is a wanderer. Robert.
Yes.
Everyone's laughing and riding and cornholing except Buster.
Rob, Krall was cornholing all week this week, and we didn't didn't get any part of this. For those of you who are not in these leagues right now, Krall made 2 trades between both leagues, and he is going for broke right now. I feel like we need to analyze a couple of these trades here.
Yeah, he's on a rampage. I don't know what motivated him, if it was being on the podcast. You know, now that he's an official podcast personality, he felt like he needed to actually put some effort in. But yeah, truly amazing.
Well, let's start in the League of Ordinary Gentlemen. Krall made a trade with Rathgaber. Rathgaber traded Kyron Williams to Krall for Jamar Chase. Huge trade in this league. Kyron Williams is the number 4 overall running back at 17.3 points a game. He's scored a touchdown in every game this season. Jamar Chase is the number 1 overall wide receiver at 13.8 points per game, and he is going to Rathgaber. Now, this is a huge trade. This is actually an awesome 1-for-1 trade, and it's a 1-for-1 with multiple positions, with 2 teams where Rathgaber was short at running back. I'm sorry, I take that back. Krall was short at running back. He was depending on Zach Moss as his second running back. He punched in Kyron Williams in that situation instead. And then losing Jamar Chase, he had Stephon Diggs, who ended up being ruled out for the season the same day the trade happened. But he's punching Khalil Shakur into that spot. And according to the average rankings here, this is a plus 3.9 average gain to Krall's starting lineup.
Yeah. And you know what pisses me off about this whole thing? He had to do it the week he plays me. I'm not getting beat up enough. He just had to be like, oh, playing Rob this week. I better just make my team that much better to ensure I get destroyed again.
Well, Rob, I don't know if there's much hope for your team this season.
No, certainly not.
And speaking of this is a Kyle on Kyle trade. Rathgaber gets Jamar Chase. He gets the number 1 overall wide receiver. He is now looking at putting, he had 3 running backs. He had Kyron Williams, Najee Harris, and James Conner. And
John Connor. Nice.
And so he cured a little bit of a logjam there. And he's leaving an average of 6.5 points on the table by downgrading to Najee Harris. But his best number 2 wide receiver was Quentin Johnson, who had been kind of hurt, and he hasn't really had another consistent wide receiver. So putting Jamar Chase in that spot and removing a guy like Quentin Johnson actually adds, about a point to his average score. So really, very beneficial for both teams. A very even trade, an even trade player for player. I like it. Sometimes it's fun when you can find the right guy who has the one piece that you need, and both guys help make their team better.
Yeah, it was truly, it was really masterful. Like, both of these are very well put together trades. There's benefits on both ends. It was pretty cool. Usually when we design trades, we're just trying to rip somebody off or completely cheat an entire system.
Absolutely.
Drum up some.
A guy like Depre's just trying to trade a few ham sandwiches for some filet mignon, shit like that.
Hey, I stand by my take on ham sandwiches from last week. Let's not bring those into this. But yeah, I feel like the Guillotine League, we just need like a bye week collectively. Maybe next year, instead of having the 2 weeks in week 1, we just get like a breather in week 8 or 9 where we can just unclench and nobody gets eliminated. There are no matchups, and then we resume, just so I can stop freaking out every week about this fucking league.
Well, I love the Guillotine League for that reason, because your butthole is just puckered constantly. And on that note, let's bring in our special guest for this week. Now, he is a 7-week winner in the Guillotine League, but a 1-week loser, and all it takes is 1 week to lose in the Guillotine League to be out entirely. He scored the most points for a losing team in the Guillotine League, 122.5. Just for reference, like the last 3 weeks, the losing team was all in the 80s. So that's a big blow for a guy who finally lost out of the league. But with us this week, Mr. Jimmy Hegner. Jimmy, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Good, boys. How we doing?
Well, where did it all go wrong for you, Jim? Tell me.
It's sometime on Saturday about nooner with some whiskey, maybe. Rob, this is your fault.
Hey, nothing ever went wrong. Started with whiskey.
Well, so little hung on Sunday. Didn't look at the lineups too much. Didn't realize that T. Higgins was out. Started him. That was the nail in the coffin.
I feel like that could have been a crucial mistake there, Jim.
A little bit.
Now, was there a player on your team you could have subbed in that would have got you over the? I mean, you only lost by a couple of fractions of a point, if I'm not mistaken. It was close.
Let's take a look at that. He actually lost by 9.8 points.
Yep.
And let's take a look at his team here. Who could have gotten you 9.8 points? Well, Dalton Kincaid could have, but you had that wouldn't have helped you. You really just need a wide receiver. Oh, Jerry Jeudy or Darius Slayton. All you had to do was anyone but Jalen Waddle that you could have used in your lineup would have got you just enough points to knock Rick out of this league. Now,
Rick of all people,
yeah,
you let that demon stay in the league.
I would have been pretty excited if you would have knocked Rick out. So
yeah.
Thanks a lot, Jimmy.
It was a pretty stellar team, and I shit the bed.
Now, speaking of that stellar team, you left some guys out there on the waivers this week that are going to be highly sought after. Baker Mayfield.
You're not kidding.
Baker Mayfield's, I believe, the number 2 overall quarterback in that league, averaging 26.1 points per game. He lost a couple wide receivers, but this last week, he still put up 18 points. The number 1 overall running back, Derrick Henry, averaging 26.5 points a game. Kenneth Walker's out there. Darnell Mooney, he's a top 12 wide receiver. T. Higgins, who's coming off the injury, he had a slow start to the season with injuries, but he's been coming on the last few weeks. Alexander Madison, DeAndre Swift, just some quality players that are in the waiver pool right now. Jim, I gotta be honest, I did not see your team as being the one to lose this week.
That makes 2 of us.
Yeah, it'll be far less impressive when my players go on the waivers.
And just to backtrack it, going into Monday night, Jimmy had 122.2 and was locked in on Sunday night. I was at 120. Steve was at 118. I think Nicole was at like 120 also, and Rick was like 110, something like that. And Rick had a big night, I believe, from Najee Harris, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, of all times for that asshole to perform.
Yeah, Najee Harris, 18.1 points, and propelled Rick to continue on. So it looked like it was going to be a pretty exciting Monday night, considering there were like 5 teams in play. But everybody kind of jumped the 122 pretty early on in the game.
Watch his wife getting jumped.
I mean, given how much fun we had on Saturday, I don't think I would have changed a thing about anything.
Oh, so you were part of this?
Oh yeah,
it's all his fault.
Not all my fault.
So now, Jimmy, would you say that Rob set you up?
Oh no, because I always bring all the goods.
Because I mean, I feel like T. Higgins did T. Higgins? Didn't he get hurt on Friday? Maybe Rob knew. Maybe Rob knew and he set you up. I could that have happened?
Come on,
Rob. What's your defense?
How could I possibly think that T. Higgins would make that big a difference on a juggernaut team like he had? Let's be reasonable here.
Jim, I mean, was it a juggernaut? I mean, it didn't work out for you.
All juggernauts go down eventually, right?
Well, all but one this year. We'll find out.
Well, able too.
Well, my sorry ass team it was able to live another week. So, and another part of this equation is the fact that Jimmy had the most money, and I will tell you, and I'd have to go back and do the list on who lost each week, but there was a fair amount of people that either had the most points or were right up in there for the most points. I'm sorry, for the most dollars left in their budget. Each week, it's kind of like whoever has the most left is the one that gets removed.
Seems to be a recurring theme.
So apparently I need to spend a lot of money because I think I have the most left right now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm having a pretty good time of spending money. That's not a problem in my area. And I was the second highest score last week. So maybe there's something to that. Maybe you do have to get out there and grab some guys right away and just and go for it. Because look at who we just lost. You know, it could have been Rick, it could have been Jim, and those are two teams we thought were all set pretty much and about to ride into the top four, and yet here they are with a pocket full of change and no one to play against.
Yeah, and just looking at the dollar amounts, Andrew's got $5 left. You got 32. Nicole's got 49. Steve's got 48. I have 49. Aaron has 48. Rick has 37, and Krall has 10. And Jason's still in it, but he's down to 0. Speaking of Jason, let's talk about the trade of the week.
He has to lose, right? Just on principle.
I mean,
if he wins this whole league, I'm gonna fucking die.
It's got to be impossible. He can't improve his team.
Right. We thought that up until he made this crazy ass trade, and now I'm just thinking to myself, what if he just trades all fucking year?
Yeah, but I don't think that.
Somehow?
How is he going to do that though? Because like he's stuck with a team that has a certain level of ability, and everyone else is just going to be gaining more players, right?
Dude, every time I think I know things like that, I'm proving tragically wrong.
But Krall and Jason made a trade just today, actually. And this is kind of a whopper. I don't even know how to assess the actual trade. The trade is kind of based. It's kind of like David Montgomery and Xavier Worthy for CeeDee Lamb, and
the parts that he needed.
Yeah, on paper, Montgomery and Worthy, you would say is actually the better part of the deal, in my opinion. But Krall is getting Fairbairn, the kicker from Houston, and the Broncos defense. Now, the Broncos defense is really not that exciting, but Fairbairn is I think, number 2 kicker. And the reason why Krall is getting those two guys is that they both have Week 14 buys. And if for some unforsaken reason Jason gets to Week 14, he'd be absolutely fucked because he doesn't have a defense and a kicker. So he ended up getting Harrison Butker, who's really like the number 15 kicker. But he also gets the Vikings defense. Both of those guys also have been on bye. The Vikings defense is the number 2 defense in the league right now. So quite honestly, I feel like Jason got the better end of this trade, even though I feel like Krall was trying to capitalize on Jason's needs.
Yeah, it's like you prefaced it with, it's very complex, but at the same time made all the sense in the world for everyone involved. I was kind of sad I couldn't find a way to be part of that. Good on Krall for figuring that part out.
And you know what?
I think
let's talk about fucking Krall.
You know I'm fast. Show me.
Now, didn't Krall just roast you for making the same exact, trade when I was panicking and I needed someone? Did 2 weeks ago, did we not just hear him roast you for not just taking you out and calling it a day? Or taking me out and calling it a day? What's your rebuttal to that, Rob?
No, I think it's bullshit. I don't see anything wrong with our trade now that this went through. I don't know what anybody had to complain about.
Me either. I couldn't believe that. I mean, I know Krall his stance is everything should be fair game, but he roasted you on principle of not just getting me out of the league and granted it actually wouldn't have worked because I still would have beat Mr. Olsen on that week, but still, on principle, he just roasted you about that, and he made the same goddamn trade with Jason. I mean, that's kind of hypocritical, don't you think?
Took advantage of a weakness and exploited it to make his team better. So I totally agree, Kyle. And they're not here to argue, so I'm assuming they agree as well.
That's right. Hit that gavel. I almost said gravel. Jimmy, speaking of weaknesses, you're pretty weak.
Whoa. Whoa.
Ouch.
What do you feel is your big weakness? And I mean in general.
Life? I don't know, man.
Well, I was really hoping to get some hard-hitting, analysis on that one.
Got nothing for you.
His family is his weakness. He's a big sucker for making them happy.
This is true. You're absolutely right about that. I was just going to say big soft guy for family. So
Speaking of that, did I hear that right? You went all the way across the country to get your daughter a BMW?
whoa. My wife, calm down. But, I didn't go. I sent my wife and my daughter to Vegas to drive home their new car.
So what was so special about this vehicle that you had to get it from Vegas?
There's only a handful of them for sale in the entire country. And that one was from Wisconsin originally. So had to bring it home, I guess.
So and what is this car?
It's a BMW 430 convertible.
Really?
Yeah.
So those elevator guys make the big money, huh?
Right? You just can't hide that money, that elevator money.
I mean, what he saved on haircuts and beard shaving sessions, he was able to. If you were in a dungeon, I'd say you kind of look like Krall right now. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, take your shirt off and get like a wood finish behind you. We need to see the comparison here. Take your glasses off.
It's the bluey back there.
That is a nice bluey picture you got back there. So speaking of elevator guys, now is this true? I heard that they name every elevator that gets put into service, and they put a plaque right on the elevator. The last elevator I was in was named Otis. What was the last elevator that you did, Jimmy?
I work for Otis. So, yeah, they're all Otis.
Everyone. They're all Otis.
That's the company.
Yes.
So what's the coolest elevator that you've done recently?
Recently, well, I put one out in Manitowoc at the Wisconsin Aluminum Foundry, just to move people from the bottom floor to the top. And it's the most expensive elevator you've ever seen in a foundry. It has a TV screen in it. Has shit like you'd see them.
Apparently, WAF is making money because they're all over the news. I hear that the vice presidential candidate, whatever the guy's name is, I'm terrible with this political shit. The Democratic candidate, wasn't he at Wisconsin Aluminum Foundry? He was probably the first one to use the elevator.
Well, I got stuck in it.
Well, they want you to be really comfortable on your ride to a sweat pit. But yeah,
right.
Clearly, Kyle, you're not watching enough of the political ads that the rest of the human race can't seem to avoid.
I have been purposely avoiding them. Now, I got one more question for you, Jimmy. Now, is it true that you guys did the elevators and the escalators at Lambeau Field?
Yeah, we've got them all.
Okay, so can you explain to me why the escalator's always broken?
Because people suck.
I mean, I wouldn't know what it's like to ride on one of the elevators because, like every other normal person, I jet right for the stairs because that's
right.
the quickest way out of there.
You have to. If you waited for the escalator to get out of there, you'd be there for a month.
You would die.
Yeah, generally it's just some nuisance trip, somebody jumping or bouncing or pulling on stuff. But
fucking safety precautions. Back in the 70s, they used to just let people get sucked into those things, and it would just keep going.
No, back in the 70s, there would have just been stairs.
If you Google Chinese escalator, you may or may not see human hamburger meat at some point.
Ooh,
fun! Let's check that out.
Well, so we're gonna take an intermission here, and we're gonna Google escalator fails. We will be back shortly, and we're back. Robert, holy shit! Can you believe that guy's arm just disappeared?
To be honest, Kyle, I am not going to sleep tonight.
I did not know you could get a penis stuck in there. I really didn't. Why was his dick out?
On one hand, I want to say the guy was asking for it the way he was doing what he was doing. And on the other hand, I am still mortified and somehow feel bad.
You don't get the context behind the videos, but I don't know why his dick was out. I mean, what could he have
Also-
possibly have been doing?
Yeah. Also, I thought there was kind of a preconception that the Asians had very small ones. That dude's was
No.
way longer
Well,
than
I mean,
mine could be. That was,
It definitely got stretched out for a while until it broke.
good Lord. Anyways,
Yeah, let's move on.
football.
Jimmy,
Segways are fun.
do you have any other good tidbits for us this week on your losing week in the Guillotine League?
Don't sleep on it. That's what I did. Don't sleep on it. Get it when you can, and if you're like me and a cheapskate, you probably won't get what you want anyway.
Well, spoken like a true guy who gets a 35-cent haircut. Jimmy, thanks for being with us tonight. Now, Robert and I are going to do our parlay bets of the week. You get to be the deciding factor on who is making the better bet here. So listen in closely. Rob, what do you got this week?
I got to go first this week. Man, this is a banger. All right. Obviously, I went off the rails last week just to entertain the people and to let you have a chance to get back.
I'm sorry, I forgot. We should have led with that. Let's go back to that one. All right, Rob did a 7-team teaser. We both agreed after we finished with him explaining his teaser. We both looked at each other and we said, which one loses? How can we lose this one? This is impossible. There's no way to lose this one when you're teasing all these teams 6 points. Well, the truth of the matter is fucking easy to lose, like immediately.
Only 3 of them found a way to do that.
Yeah, so the Rams blew the doors off the Vikings. How, I don't know what happened there. So that bet was shot immediately on Thursday night. The Cards won the bet against the Dolphins. The Ravens blew it to the Browns. Philly won the Bengals bet. Green Bay won. The Jets bet lost, which was the one I circled. I thought that might be the one that loses. And I even told you I thought the Patriots would win straight up.
You did.
And then the Bills won on that one. So Rob lost $100. He is now for the season at plus 948 going into week 9. Me, on the other hand, I had the Packers -4 over the Jags. Missed her by a point there. The Bills, I won on. That was the Bills -3. And then the Texans only won by 4 to the Colts, and I had a -5. So, fuck. I missed it by 2 points total. So
Kyle, let
Yes.
me ask you a question there, bud.
all right, yeah, ask away.
Now this goes back to your big argument against everything I stand for. Are you drinking an actual gallon of beer? How big is that bottle? That thing is redonk.
This is a bomber. It is 3 Sheeps amped up. It is a bourbon barrel aged imperial stout with cocoa nibs, vanilla, and macadamia nuts, and it is fucking delicious.
God damn, it looks good. Also, it is the size of a fucking wine bottle. You're gonna be sleeping like a baby.
Absolutely. So I have a bunch of these in the fridge, and I try not to drink them by myself, but it turns out I end up just drinking them by myself because either Nicole's in bed or, she's not thirsty. I don't know. So yeah.
I mean,
so
technically, you're not
cheers to that.
not drinking alone tonight. We're all here.
We're
with
drinking
you.
together.
We all got drinks.
Also,
Jim,
need
I
more
was so
whiskey.
desperate, I filled this one up from the infinity bottle.
Nice. Jimmy, what are you drinking tonight?
Anywho,
A Sprinter. Yeah. Little vodka soda thing.
nice.
All right.
It was $1 a can.
So what was this point you were going to make?
Let's get back on track. Kyle, if you took those 3 bets and just did a money line parlay, would you have won it? Yes or no?
Yes, but I would have gotten no odds on it.
Case in point, Kyle would have made money if he took a money line parlay
Well,
and just took those 3 teams to win. You heard it, Jim. You heard it at home. My argument just won right there. Money line parlay, he'd have nailed it.
Yeah, but I think I would have won less money than I bet though.
Who cares? You'd have won money.
Yeah, we'll
He's got nothing, Jim. He's got nothing.
no,
Where's
but
the
there
hole in
was
this
no
argument?
odds on that.
Okay, well, I got great odds on my 7-team teaser. Guess what happened? I lost it. Kyle.
All 7.
Kyle.
Yep. Okay. All right. All it takes is one to lose on a parlay.
All I mean, all jokes aside, like if I was doing a one-team teaser last week, I would have lost because I would have took the Ravens. So
I would have too. That was my lock of the week. Like, how was that not a win?
Really didn't matter at the end of the day.
All right. What do you got this week for me? Now, Rob insured me. This is a winning bet. So those of you who are listening at home, go to Oneida immediately. They're open all night. Go to Oneida immediately after this and make this bet.
I did assure you this was a winning bet. All
okay,
right,
Usher,
Kyle,
tell me.
This is how I got to plus 1096.
Holy shit. Is this like a 12-team teaser, or what are we doing here? 1296?
Oneida only lets you do 7 teams, first of all.
Okay,
Kyle.
all right.
And no, this is actually a little a journey back to my first love, which is road dogs.
Oh, boy.
All right. This is the road dog teaser of the week. We got road dogs all day here. All right. First one, we got the Houston Texans beating the New York Jets in New York at plus 108.
So this is a money line?
Yes, these are all money line.
Okay.
And we have the Dallas Cowboys beating the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta at plus 130.
Okay.
I think Atlanta's a little overrated, and I think the Cowboys can pull this one off.
I think the Cowboys kind of suck.
Well, yeah, but I don't think the Falcons are world beaters either. I think their pass defense is weak, and that's the only place the Cowboys really thrive because they don't have a run game. So I'm just doing a little differential math here, and I think it could be a game. I think the Cowboys can steal that one. And my third one is the New England Patriots beating the Titans of Tennessee in Tennessee at plus 150. That's it. 3 teams gets me to plus 1096. Dude, Tennessee is garbage. I don't even care who's playing quarterback for New England. There's with that run game and that defense, I think they're just fine.
I got to divulge some information. My bet, I almost went that exact route that you went. I am not kidding you. I looked at the Patriots and I thought to myself, road dog, Titans, is Drake May going to be back? The Patriots have been frisky, and I wasn't 100% sure on that one. I didn't go there. But I went Houston money line over the Jets because it was plus 108. I also did the Browns money line over the Chargers because Jameis Winston is the next coming of Joe Flacco.
Whoa. Okay.
I mean, he's a darker version of Joe Flacco.
Oh.
But he's the next Joe Flacco. He likes to throw yardage, man. He throws interceptions, but he likes to throw for a lot of yards. The Browns money line over the Chargers plus 105, and I'm not gonna lie, I had a really hard time picking the third leg on this parlay, but I ended up going Rams minus 1.5 over Seattle minus 110 for a total of 714.
Okay. You know, I looked at that Rams-Seattle game, and I actually almost went the other way. I actually liked Seattle in that game.
I feel like Seattle's been rolling over recently.
I know it. Just something about the matchup just made me think I should take them. And I was going to get plus odds, but I didn't want to push my luck considering who I already had in the bet. I almost threw that as a fourth leg in here just to get stupid, but yeah. Speaking of, hold on. Oh, quarterbacks that like to throw interceptions. So Rick and I were having beers tonight at the bar because it's my job to get drunk before this podcast.
Absolutely.
And 2 things. One, I am now the biggest Xavier Legette. How the fuck do you say his last name?
Leggett.
There you go. I'm the biggest. Well, make up your mind. Anyways, I'm a huge fan of that guy because I just picked him up in our Wooden Nickel League. Anyways, shitty quarterbacks that throw interceptions. Rick was saying in one of his leagues, you don't get punished for interceptions. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, that changes everything. And then I was like, I wonder if we should have like a draft of who would be great quarterbacks in fantasy football if they weren't punished for interceptions.
Rob, that was called the BQBL. We did the bad quarterback league.
No, I mean where you still wanted them to be good though. Like I thought like Brett Favre would be a good one. Like he threw a lot of touchdowns, but threw a lot of picks.
Jameis Winston. He's the only quarterback in the 30-30 club.
Yeah, he would be the ultimate. That's how this conversation came up. It's like, wow, he would be amazing because you wouldn't care at all when he airs those fuckers out.
Fucking like, just make it happen, right?
Yeah, Send it. Who cares?
Yeah, George Blanda. He kicked field goals too. Imagine having a kicker and a quarterback in your quarterback slot. It's double points.
Everyone loves kickers.
Why
You get
can't we
votes
bring
for
that back?
immediately.
Why can't the quarterbacks kick again? I don't understand it.
It's a good point. Kicking's not hard.
You think if you could throw, you should be able to kick, right?
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
That's what they say. Jimmy, you are the judge on these bets. Which one do you like better?
Honestly, gonna have to go with Rob there. The only thing I think your pick on the Rams just don't like it, man.
All right. I mean, I expected that. Just like when Steve was on the podcast, he knew that he was the odd man out, and he had to make a good argument for it. But that's all right. When I win this one, Rob and I'll just be neck and neck for total points there, because I believe I'm like $700 behind you, and if I win this one and you lose, I think we'll be right up in there together.
Yeah, I mean, he just knows where the money's at. You read off the historical stats, and I made better arguments for my case. It's no secret how to make money, Kyle. And I'm proud of you. 2 of your 3 picks were money lines. You're slowly drifting back in my direction. You had all these fun points you could have taken. In fact, there was a ton of really awesome unders you could have taken where some of those favorites were getting way too many points and you didn't even consider it. You didn't even touch it. You're like, you know what's easier? Just picking money line bets because it's a no-brainer. So see, my argument made itself. Thank you so much for understanding. He's smarter than I thought he was, Jim.
I don't pay attention to over-unders. I'm sure there's an edge that you can get by over-unders, but I mean, quite honestly, how often do you think about how many points are scored in a game?
I'm not saying the over-unders. I'm saying you could have taken, let's take the Ravens-Broncos game, for example. The Ravens are getting 9 points. Do you think the Broncos are going to lose by 9?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm just saying there's a lot of, okay, how about the Buccaneers-Chiefs game? The Chiefs are getting 9. Do you think the Buccaneers aren't going to stay within 9 of the Chiefs?
I slightly considered just taking the Buccaneers in that one.
Okay. Just saying
because
great
the
odds
Chiefs
out there.
haven't been scoring a ton. The Chiefs have been keeping it close.
Yeah, it's just
I considered some of that stuff. Listen, the only
I got
reason
you on money lines. My point is I got you on
the
money
point
lines.
the point I was trying to make with the money lines is you can't take money line favorites. It kills your odds. No, you can't.
You can if it makes sense, Kyle. You have
But
to
it
do
never
it
makes sense. It makes sense to take money line dogs because you get
Sure,
better
if
you
it
get
makes-
better odds if you think they're going to win.
Yeah, I took it because I thought those were going to win, but I will take favorites if I think that's what'll make money and what is the right pick. I won't take risk that doesn't need to exist on a bet if I don't
But I'm
have
just saying
to.
if
just
you
for the sake of getting slightly better odds.
I'm just saying if you got to add a fourth leg just so you can take a money line favorite and still make money, that's a mistake. Just pick 3 teams that you don't need to take a money line favorite on.
Right, but look what happened to yours. You only had 3 and 2 of them missed. If you just took the money lines, you hit.
Listen, I mean, don't talk like an expert. You've only won two freaking bets in your life.
Hey, I'm winning. That's all I'm saying.
Well, anyways,
How many of yours won?
on that one, and you've won 2. On that note, it's been another fun week. Thanks for joining us, Jimmy. We'll get more information from you. You know, maybe at a later date. I would like to congratulate you in the League of Ordinary Gentlemen. You have gotten a legitimate win at this point. You beat someone other than Rob and I.
Early.
So how does
You're a real team.
How does it feel to get your first win, Jim?
That's why I'm the one win wonders, boys.
He's got one win that's not Rob or Kyle. Well, in that case, we've had a fun night here. Thank you guys for joining us. This is the Gentleman Podcast. Signing off.
Go Xavier Leggett.
We'll figure it out someday. We got Tony Kornheiser over here waving your flag.
Wow. I just got to get everyone drunk before our Guillotine League matchups if I know they got an injury. This is going to be the best conquest ever.